Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support. There's even a brand new Brigadier General tier where you can get a shout out on a Commander's Quarters episode that's dedicated to you. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Quarters studio. Welcome to the show. Really quick before we get into today's episode, if this image on the screen does not look familiar to you, well, you probably need to go watch this other episode first, because today's episode is going to be a Break the Bank based off of this Eutropia the Twice-Favored Infect deck episode. And if you haven't seen that episode, well, this one might be somewhat confusing. So moving forward, I'm going to assume that you've already seen this episode and we're all on the same page, so yeah, lovely to have you here. Because again, today's episode is going to be a Break the Bank on Eutropia the Twice-Favored. And just like the deck tech, this Break the Bank episode comes to you courtesy of Patrick, who's been supporting this channel as a Golden Pig tier patron. I truly couldn't do this without the support from amazing patrons like Patrick, so again, Patrick, thank you so much. And for the personalized deck, Patrick chose Eutropia the Twice-Favored with Pauper EDH rules, meaning that this is an uncommon commander and every single card in the deck has to be at the common rarity. Or rather, I should say, at least have one printing at common rarity. And actually, I probably should mention that there are two cards that are banned that are noteworthy in Pauper EDH that aren't common rarity, but they are banned with Mystic Remora and Rhystic Study, so you will not be seeing them in these upgrades. Regardless, there are still plenty of fantastic upgrades for our Eutropia deck. A quick reminder, Eutropia is a 2/2 human wizard for 1 green-blue that has Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield on your control, put a +1 counter on target creature. That creature gains flying until end of turn. And the direction that I took that deck was, well, Infect, because, yeah. Although they may be common creatures, when they have Infect, they can pack quite the punch, especially when they get pumped and get evasion from Eutropia. So first I'm going to walk you through the upgrades for this deck, and then let's talk about what cards we're taking out, and then we'll talk about the price. First up, a card that just missed the initial budget requirement of every card being less than $1. Let's talk about Glistener Elf. Glistener Elf is a fantastic upgrade for this deck, a 1/1 Elf Warrior that just cost a green. Oh yeah, and it has Infect. Getting this down early can start the poison train right away. And with just a few pumps from our commander, this can easily become a 2-shot kill in no time, and eventually maybe even a 1-shot kill. Getting that early Infect is a very powerful thing, so yeah, an upgrade to Glistener Elf is quite the upgrade for this kind of a deck. Moving on though, now let's talk about some ramp cards with Utopia Sprawl and Gaia's Touch. Each of these are some fantastic ramp enchantments that we are very happy to upgrade this deck with. Utopia Sprawl is an aura that says Enchant Forest and it just costs a green. When it enters the battlefield, we're going to choose a color, which probably is going to be either green or blue, and when an Enchanted Forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds additional 1 mana of the chosen color. So this is basically another wild growth for this deck, which is fantastic, but it's better in some ways. Well, okay, and slightly worse in one way too. Wild growth can go on any land, not just a forest, but we've got plenty of forests in this deck, so most of the time we're going to have a target for this. And when we do have a forest in play, this is going to be more impactful, allowing us to tap for either green or blue, depending on the situation that we're in when we put this into play. Regardless, another 1 mana enchantment is a fantastic thing for this deck, because again, our commander loves low to the ground enchantments that help us get more and more counters and more evasion on our creatures. And then Gaia's Touch is an enchantment that costs green, and it's quite old, so I'm going to read its Oracle text. It has pay 0. You may put a basic forest card from your hand on the battlefield, activate only as a sorcery and only once each turn, sacrifice Gaia's Touch, add green. Essentially, this is a way to play an extra land on each of our turns, as long as that land is a forest. And if in desperation we ever need to get rid of this, we can sacrifice it and get the mana back that we put into it. A permanent that allows us to play additional lands in a turn is an incredibly rare thing to find at common, and luckily for us, this was printed at common in the dark, so there you go. And actually, sorry, I need to clarify. The Dark is a set. I'm not saying that they printed it while it was dark out. You know what I mean. Regardless, moving on, we also are going to be adding in some more ramp cards with Nature's Lore, and of course, Wayfarer's Bauble. That feels really good to say. Anyways, Nature's Lore is a sorcery for 1 and a green that says search your library for a forest card, put that card on the battlefield, then shuffle. Now you might think that with a deck that only has commons in it that we don't have a dual land that we can go get, but Rimewood Falls is out there, and that is technically a forest, so we can get that and put it into play. So this can help us fix our mana, or we can just actually go get a basic forest, which is going to come into play untapped, and then, yeah, basically we ramped, and we only spent kind of 1 mana to do it because we get 1 mana back immediately. Regardless, a fantastic turn 1 play as always is Wayfarer's Bauble, an artifact for 1 that has pay 2 and tap, sacrifice it, touch your library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. Wayfarer's Bauble is some fantastic early land ramp, and yeah, even if we just have islands to start, which, you know, aren't going to help us with any of our other ramp cards, we can utilize those to ramp and go get us a forest with this, which, yeah, you can't really say that with any of our other ramp cards. Anyways, I've talked about Wayfarer's Bauble at length on many episodes, and in fact, I did an entire episode on why I love it so much. So if you'd like to know why, go ahead and check that out. But not before you finish this episode, because that would be rude and I'd be sad if you left. Anyways, next up, we've got some ways to protect our things with Counterspell and Avoid Fate. Counterspell is a very simple and effective spell, being an instant for blue that simply says, counter target spell. You know, that's where the term Counterspell came from. And although it was an uncommon in Modern Horizons 2, it was printed at common plenty of times before that. So, and yeah, actually, I think I did the exact same thing on Gaia's Touchdown. I think about it, it shows up as an uncommon in that picture. But yes, just I promise you, these have been printed at common before. So, same thing with Avoid Fate, which is a very strange card to see in green, an instant for a green that says counter target instant or aura spell that targets a permanent you control. Now, I've made this joke plenty of times on the channel, especially recently, that green can essentially do everything, and yeah, apparently they can, because back in Legends they're like, you know what, green can counter things as well. Now, it's being able to counter very specific things, but being able to counter an instant for just 1 mana with just a green mana open is a very surprising thing to a lot of decks. And occasionally you might need to counter an aura spell, which is going to be nice as well. Regardless, now let's talk about our last 3 additions to this deck, which are some very fun additions when they work out. Urza's Tower, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Mine. We've got plenty of ramp and mana fixing in this deck, and if we happen to get all 3 of these lands out, well, we're going to have even more ramp. Urza's Tower can tap for a colorless, but if we control all 3 of them, we get to add 3 mana instead. The same is true for Urza's Power Plant and Urza's Mine, but they each add 2. So essentially, each of them just tap for 1 mana, but when all 3 are in play, we get to tap for 7 mana in total. And yes, these lands are at common. Regardless, now that we talked about the cards that we're adding into the deck, let's talk about the cards that we're going to be taking out. Now, as I say in essentially all these Break the Bank episodes, just because we are taking cards out does not mean that they are bad cards. It simply means that the upgrades that we're adding into the deck are more effective for this deck, and therefore we need to take some cards out, because obviously, well, we can't go past that 100 card limit. So because of that, we're going to be taking out cards like Mana Leak, Steady Progress, New Horizons, Market Festival, Eureka Moment, Fortitude, and Tel Jalad Fallen. And because we added some lands in, we're going to be taking some lands out with 2 forests and 1 island. But now that we've talked about every single card that we're going to be adding into this deck and every card that we're going to be taking out of it, let's talk about the price. So with all these upgrades, the new estimated cost for this deck is $48.46. Again, with this being a Pauper EDH deck, the cards in it are common and the upgrades are common as well. So because of that, the pricing for some of these upgrades is going to be lower, obviously, than, you know, cards that are either uncommon or rare or mythic rare, because again, they are, well, less rare. Regardless, you can actually save even more off of this price if you already happen to have the basic lands for it, because within this estimated cost, basic lands are being counted at 10 cents a piece. And speaking of additional savings, you might be able to save even more by buying this deck on TCG Player and utilizing heavily played and damaged cards, because those cards need a home too. Though do keep in mind that this estimated cost does not include the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.
Bye.